Hello, my name is Salman Hamid, and I'm Assistant Professor of Integrated Science and Humanities at Hampshire College.
I'm Kevin Anderson. I teach courses in film and anthropology at the University of Massachusetts, and this is Film Autopsy.
My name is David Siegel.
My name is Jacqueline Siegel.
I am the founder, CEO of the largest timeshare company in the world.
I'm a 43-year-old mother of 8. We never sought out to build the biggest house in America. It just kind of happened.
It's bigger than the White House.
2 tennis courts,
30 bathrooms,
full-size baseball field,
10 kitchens,
antique furniture.
90,000 square feet.
Oh my God.
We're in line to do $1 billion in sales for the year. We're on top of the world. And it came to a screeching halt.
The market fell over 700 points.
I would say it's touch and go right now.
We don't talk about financial problems. I guess I'll have to watch the movie to find out what's going on in my life.
Everything changes.
This is almost like a riches to rags story. She knows we need to cut back, but she's still compulsive.
What time is it now?
Well, if I could afford a watch, I would tell you.
You can buy the palace that timeshare mogul David Siegel already wants to sell.
Just think of the bright side. You might not have to clean this house.
The American dream is raising way up above what you started with, and that is what she has done.
I'm in this fantasy world, until reality hits.
Hello, and welcome to a film autopsy of a new documentary directed by Lauren Greenfield called The Queen of Versailles. Salman, I was just wondering, because when I went in, I thought this was going to be like a documentary companion piece to Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette. So where does the title of this film come from?
This is a fantastic film. The filmmakers were following this guy, the Siegel family, billionaire, who was building the largest house in America, and he was building it close to near Orlando, Florida. Mm-hmm. And most of his money was made based on the vacation rentals and our timeshare business. And in the last couple of years, as you can imagine, with the economy tanking, so did his business. So this movie, which was meant to trace sort of like the lifestyle, kind of like a reality show,
the luxuries of
turn into more about the downfall of a particular family, and it provides you with a real insight. The filmmakers were given tremendous access to the family, and one thing you can, while watching the film, you actually start wondering why is such an access is given, because you can see the trials and tribulations of this very rich family. And I think they will also know that their portrayal would not be sympathetic, especially in the time of economic hardship. Yeah. So that actually makes it really interesting, but there are a lot of other elements that I want to talk about. What did you think about the film?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. I think there's an interesting story also related to behind the scenes, because as Salman said, Lauren Greenfield started off making this film about this billionaire and his wife, Jackie, the Siegel family, and their pursuit to build the largest, like kind of single dwelling, single family home in North America. And then fall 2008 happens, and the one thing I'll modify when you say they have a lot of money, well, they are definitely new money.
Right.
They are definitely new money. And for me, one of the most iconic images of the film is Jackie's black limousine parked in front of a McDonald's. That, to me, just says a lot about the family. And there's so many shots of them at home. They have so much wealth. And they're walking around barefoot and in shorts and tank tops. And, when the money goes, well, so do the butlers and the maids and the nannies. And this family, which has virtually no skills in terms of housekeeping or anything like that, it's interesting to see the interior of their lives and of their domestic space kind of reflect what has been crumbling around them on the outside. It's like just the place becomes a mess.
And the house itself. I mean, I thought one of the most interesting aspects about the house was, again, the title of the film is Queen of Versailles, and so the idea was that they were designing this house based on, you might think, Versailles in France, but actually no, it was based on Paris Hotel in Las Vegas. And so they were inspired by the duplicate in Paris, in Las Vegas of the Versailles in Paris. So that already, and this was not ironic. This was literally, that's what their version was. So
That's
I mean, I think
high culture.
the
Modeling your
new
home
money
on-
and what they were looking
Vegas.
for. I thought that was a great symbolism, which they unintentionally provided. But I think that was an interesting point, and I remember talking about this with you after the film. Also, one thing that you see a lot of is dog poop everywhere. There are a lot of animals in the film, and as you mentioned, sort of like, people walking barefoot, and there, by the way, there are a lot of kids also, because they have the guy Siegel. I mean, he has
It's a second or third marriage, I think, for both of them.
right, and so we don't see most of his other kids, but within the current wife, which is the
Who
protagonist.
was a former Miss Florida.
Former Miss Florida, which is the protagonist of this film. She already has 7 kids by herself. So we see kids and a lot of different animals in the house. There almost seems to be an emphasis on that, because oftentimes there will be shots deliberately. I mean, of course, it looks like they had a lot of footage, a lot of access, but that was almost an emphasis.
To me, it just kind of reinforced this notion, and I will say this, the characters in this film are sympathetic. I actually found Jackie Siegel to be quite interesting, and so the way we're talking about it, you might think, oh, it's this film about this family that I'm not even going to like or connect with. Not quite. They're interesting people, and particularly the character of Jackie is very sympathetic, and so it's quite interesting. But I think the focus on the kind of the animal, refuse and all that stuff, just really, to me, underscores how these people are. They're very uncultured. They perform high culture because they have so much money. But when that money is taken away, they're barely above trailer trash.
But I'm not even sure whether you would say that they perform high culture, because I'm not so sure where.
Well, they throw some big parties with, that are catered, like when they had the money and all that.
Sure, but I should mention, this movie is not just about that. I think one of the most interesting characters, and I agree with you, Jackie was actually sympathetic. But one of the most interesting characters in there was the story of a Filipino maid who is in there, and who is...
Or nanny.
Nanny. She's the nanny, and she is taking care of their kids.
Yeah.
But then you find out through the film that she has not seen her own son from the age of 7, who is now 27.
This was back in the Philippines.
It was back in the Philippines.
20 years.
And that she has been sending pictures, money back to her family. And then here, the movie is about building of the biggest house. And she says, like, her father, all he wanted was a house made up of concrete. And the only thing that he eventually got was his grave, which was of concrete. And within the film, and she ends up really happy living in the sort of like a playhouse for the kids, because that is itself big enough.
They give that to her.
They give that to her.
At the end of the
so
film.
I think that interaction with the domestic worker, the fact that she is from somewhere else, and the way she looked at her relationship with her son, with her family, and how she thought of money.
And she loves these children. She takes care of them. She's very tender with them, and she doesn't seem to be put off by the family. Just like it's to her, it's kind of, well, it's unfortunate. I can't see my son. I need to stay here and work in order to send money back. I agree. I think this film is very important, particularly right now. I think it can touch off on a lot of different subjects.
And limo driver, their limo driver also plays a major role within it, and how his life has changed and things like that. Yeah. So I think this is a really fascinating film. I'm not sure whether the filmmaker, when she started to make this film, whether she thought that this will turn into a really interesting study of American life, American lifestyle, American values. But I think it ended up being a fantastic film of our times.
Yeah.
So give it a shot.
Almost kind of Greek tragedy.
But don't think, oh my God, you're going to be turned off by this is a movie about rich people or it's cheap film. No, I think it's a deeper film.
It's very well made.
And you really
very well
see the
shot,
characters.
the soundtracks put together.
Yeah,
nicely, the editing. So yeah, definitely recommend it. I could see this getting nominated. I don't know if it'll win, but nomination for best documentary.
And I think it's still in that question of why was the access given, and I think it's partly because the guy thought that he might.
He thought he was going to have a comeback.
He was going to have a comeback, and that will also be documented, and it's still being fought off. I mean, like, you know, he wants the director to include a postscript and so on and so forth. So that in itself is interesting. This is a real life story. Brilliant. I think it's really good.
Queen of Versailles, new documentary. Definitely check it out. I think we both recommend it.